All right, we started recording. Hello, everyone. So hanging out here with my mom, and we were just talking about what would be interesting to have a conversation about, and I had the idea of hearing about my mom's journey. I mean, I kind of came in halfway through it, so and I owe my journey to you. So let's hear about when we'll start with part one with before we started journeying together.
Okay. Let's see, how far back can I go? I
You can go quite a ways
I
back.
think from the, I'm going right back to maybe around the age of 5, when no, it wasn't 5. Like, I remember being out of the body a lot. Like, I don't have a lot of memories before the age of 5. And I can remember waking up, like in this reality, kind of like really waking up. And I remember I was on a bus, I think, and I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I was looking out the window and I was seeing trees, and it was like, oh my God, there's trees. And not that I wasn't in love with trees before that, but it was just like I could see everything so clearly. It was like I just kind of arrived here or something. I mean, I came in and out. I had experiences in and out before that. I don't know if I should get into all of them, kind of weird experiences, but I think I did have experiences before the age of 12, when I first really started having out-of-body experiences at will. But before that, one profound experience was, this must be funny, going to be funny to kind of share this, but my brother and I were playing, I don't know, like cowboys and Indians, and we were going to tie each other up and see who, if we could get free, right? Pretend like we were tied up, and we weren't pretending, because we actually tied each other up. And I tied up my brother and my younger brother. Just I don't remember how old we were. We weren't very old, maybe around 7 or 8. But anyway, I tied him up and he got free really quickly. I guess I didn't tie him well enough. It was my brother Richard, and he was just maybe a couple years younger than me. And then he tied me up, and he tied me up really good. But somehow, I don't know if I'd seen a movie or whatever, but the cowboys, what they did, hey, they just knocked the chair over, because I was in a chair. And so I just went to fall over, but I hit my head and knocked myself out. And I woke up, and I was walking up the road with my older brother. And it was just this strange experience, because I woke up walking, and I'm looking around, like I asked him, like, where are we? What am I doing here? What are we doing here? And he said, well, don't you remember you got knocked out, and Dad said we should get some fresh air. I should get you outside and get you some fresh air. And don't you remember? And I said yes, but I was lying. I didn't remember anything about it. And then I I must have passed out again or went into another out of my body or something again. And I remember then sitting on the couch with my dad, and my dad was quite concerned about me, and I knew he was really concerned. And so I was looking around. I said, well, where's Mom? And he said, don't you remember? She went to Penticton. And I said, I lied again to him. I said, oh, yeah, I remember. But I didn't remember. I didn't remember she'd gone or anything. And that was it. I was like awake in them two sequences. And that was it until, the next day I was fine. But so I was always fascinated by I don't know, something else other than me. And I stumbled upon this big book. Is this going to take too long?
No. I keep wanting into. What do you mean, other than you? Fascinated by what?
Oh,
So you're like, what, 10 years old at this point? And
no, I was always fascinated by something else, like something other than me. That's all I can say, Shawn. How can I say that? I can't explain it. Like when I was really young, after the age of 5, I had this, my friend was baby Jesus, and I used to talk to Jesus all the time. And like it was like I just, and I couldn't figure out why people were mean to each other. I couldn't understand that. Like, why are these people acting like this? Like, this doesn't seem to make sense. Like, they're not supposed to be doing this. And they would be, like acting different than what I could tell was going on with them. Right? They'd be angry or something like that, but they were trying not to act angry or just things like that I would pick up all the time on them. And, it just like was really puzzling. Like, why would they even be doing that? And, just questioning reality. But it wasn't so much like I was even questioning it, because there was an awareness of it, a knowledge of it, even when I was like really young. So anyway, when I was around the age of 12, I happened upon this great big thick medical textbook on hypnosis. And I just devoured that. I was just totally fascinated by that. And I was fascinated by other people's experiences, and fascinated by some experiences that were talked about in this medical book. And it's a good thing it was a medical book, because, if it was some kind of fakey kind of thing, I probably would have went off on that tangent. But at least I got some, I don't know, knowledge that was, but anyway, around that time, I couldn't sleep very well. So I decided there was no hypnotist around that I knew of. And so I thought, well, maybe I could just give myself these inductions and see what happens. And by God, it worked. Like, I started sleeping better and that, and I kept doing this. And one time when I did this, something started happening that was really different, where my body was shaking, and I forget all the signs of it. And then I was just outside of my body, like the body, I went out my feet. Okay, like I'm saying literally, I'm using that word because it was so real, like, right? It was more real than me talking to you now. So I was out of my body, and I wasn't scared or anything. It felt wonderful. Like it felt amazing. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And look down and I see my body there, and I just kind of floated around and then went back into my body. And it got so though that every time I did that self-hypnosis thing, well, I didn't even know what I was doing, right? It wasn't called self-hypnosis or anything like that. There were no books about it at that time or anything. I can't remember the year, but it was a long time ago. And there weren't hardly any books out there on
Well, this would
psychic
have been,
development or anything like that.
it would have been like the late
Um,
50s.
50s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the late 50s.
yeah. Or early 50s. Not the late 50s, early 50s.
Ooh,
Well, I was
well, if you were,
born
yeah. No,
46.
1950.
So yeah, it'll be the early. Oh, I get what you say. When I'm 12 years old. Yeah. Yeah.
50s.
Okay. Mid to late 50s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to get a sense of
Yeah.
the just what.
It's hard to do. I'm out of my body a lot of the time. Anyway, um, it was so easy to be able to do that. And I would try to tell some friends about it. I said, God, you guys, should try this. And they just looked at me like I was crazy. So I learned to not talk about this anymore because nobody around me had any idea what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I was actually able to do that up to the time when I was in my early 20s, up to when I was pregnant with your sister, Michelle. I used that to go through the birthing thing. And then I did it with you. And then when Julie came along, I was doing that, and the contractions were speeding up. And so it was at midnight or after midnight, sometime in the middle of the night. And so the nurse called the doctor because I'd already gone into the hospital at that time. And so she talked to the doctor, and the doctor, I guess, didn't want to come out in the middle of the night. So he talked her into giving me this drug, like an injection of some kind of drug, and to slow down the contractions. And I can remember the nurse saying, "This is really going to hurt." What? Anyway, it felt like I was hit by a truck or something. Like I saw stars and I was out. And then Julie and I were both out. The contractions stopped and didn't come back again for 2 weeks later. And after that time, I couldn't do it. Like something happened, like that I couldn't do it by just giving myself the induction. My body somehow rebelled against that. Anyway, so that was kind of my beginnings. And when I was, let's see, yeah, around the time, I guess before Michelle was born, this woman in Germany gave me this book on Edgar Casey. And that was just like fascinating for me, like here's this guy went to sleep and he was actually hypnotized, and he could, like predict all these things, but he could also, like a medical intuitive, where he could go into the body of other people and diagnose what was really going on, and give them information on what would help them. And most of the time it would help. If the people followed these instructions, it would help them get better. And so that was just fascinating. So like one of the first books I ever read on any kind of spiritual type thing. And I followed him for years. So it kind of led to to other things. Where did it go from there? Well, we went on a lot of adventures following spiritual teachers. And
All right, just hang on a sec. So,
yeah.
all right, so that was kind of the mid 60s then, right? When you were in Germany, mid 60s.
Yeah.
So
You,
that's
well,
when
you were born in 66 and
68.
so, yeah, Michelle in 66 and then 68.
Yeah. So
1970.
this was kind of
19,
all.
I'll just add to that, 1970s when I actually started a practice. I got into yoga at the time. I found this book, Richard Hittleman's book on the Beginner's Guide to Yoga, and I followed that for many years.
So there was, so it's like the late 60s, early 70s. There was a lot of kind of LSD and conscious awakening, Ram Dass, and
I wanted to go off to California and do all that stuff. I really did.
Did you?
But I had 3 little kids that I had to be home for. And
so what intrigued you about that?
About altered realities and all that, you mean?
Yeah.
God, it's hard to explain that. It's like, I don't know, there's something that lived in that for me. That's the only way I could say that I was just so fascinated with like people's experiences, and I could listen to that and people's experiences and kind of identify in a way what I had experienced and was, continually having experiences like that. But yeah, just something. I guess because I had so many out of body experiences, like actual out of the body experiences. Like a lot of people imagine or visualize they're out of the body and all that stuff. Like it wasn't like that. I wasn't visualizing it. Like it was real.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd be outside and I could feel the cold air and everything, and it was so real. And I guess it was maybe a confirmation, other people's experiences, a confirmation. I didn't really need a confirmation, though. I don't know if that's a good word.
So, I mean, your life at that point was a fair amount of, I guess, struggles around that time period. Was this kind of, was there a sense of wanting to find another way to be, another state to be in, another
Probably,
land to be in?
Yeah, like definitely.
Maybe it wasn't conscious at the time, but
no. Maybe there was a part of me that didn't really want to be in this body. Like at that time in my life, like all my life up until that time. And
it was difficult.
And
hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I came from a pretty dysfunctional family and dysfunctional parents, and I'm not going to get into all that because it's just kind of a story now. But that that other reality just felt so much more real than this reality. I guess that wasn't that pleasant. I mean,
It probably felt more
raised,
pleasant too.
what's that?
It probably felt more pleasant,
Oh,
more real, and
absolutely. Yeah, like absolutely. Like it, I guess it must be like people that were taking LSD or drugs and stuff, you know. Maybe they don't find them experiences that pleasant sometimes too with the LSD, but um, it's like breaking through that barrier somehow. I remember when I was deeply into yoga and meditation, I used to meditate all the time, a lot more than I do nowadays, but compared to what I do now. I remember I used to meditate so much that I tried to get work in this. I knew this naturopathic doctor that was a friend, and he wanted me to work as a receptionist in his office. And my is it your left brain or your right brain that's the one that's more analytical?
the left
Anyway,
brain.
that what the left brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't functioning. Like I'd try to write people's names down and I couldn't even write them down. Like it was hard to well, to spell them. I'm always been a bad speller, but maybe that was a part of it. Banging my head when I was a kid many times. um, yeah, so
So why were you Why were you
but,
meditating?
well, I meditate early in the morning.
No, why?
Why? Because I would feel better,
Calmer.
calmer. Yeah, I just better. You know, I didn't really have any problems or anything. It's just, you know, I was just in a kind of a state, I guess, most of the time. And it wasn't like an out of body experience, but yeah, it's funny nowadays, you know, psychologists and psychiatrists are trying to teach people how to be more, do more mindfulness meditation. But I used to do that all the time. I didn't even think about, you know, why I was doing it. I just did it like I do in the morning and in the evening. And
So,
I was just able to function better, I guess.
except as a receptionist.
Yeah, that's right, Shawn. I couldn't function that way, but I could look after kids and, you know.
Okay, and you were doing
I
yoga?
had to stop meditating so much to be able to function at one time because, yeah, I was doing yoga too. Yeah, hatha yoga and, you know, meditation.
So why were you doing yoga?
Well, my body felt really good doing it.
Okay. So, then, so fast forward a little bit. What came after meditation and yoga? You were doing work around the Seth stuff.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, that was a powerful influence in my life too. That we create our reality, and you know that's so accepted now. Like some people don't accept it, but in the, you know, the spiritual teachings and all that, a new age, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty, but when I can't remember the years I was doing that, probably in the 70s, hey, mid 70s and that, and when I got into that, and I would tell people, like I give a talk one time and people just like kind of almost boo me, how can you say that? We create our reality, like it just, they would not accept that, like anybody I talked to.
And even spiritual, in
Oh yeah.
spiritual circles.
Oh yeah. Where did you go? Shawn?
I'm still here.
Everything just went on my screen. I wonder if my computer needs to be plugged in. Just a second. Where were we?
Well, you were talking about you were giving talks and even people in kind of in spiritual circles and spiritual groups weren't quite ready to hear
for
that.
Yeah. It always feels like I've been ahead of my time, or ahead of, not my time, but I've been ahead of time, like that. Yeah.
So anything else around that? Then you started doing readings.
Oh yes. Well, through that period of time, I got into doing tarot reading and palmistry and that kind of thing. And
yeah,
it was can you remember what year that was? The harmonic convergence? Don't know what that even is. Well, it was a thing that this fella, I don't know if he was Mayan or what, but it was around the Mayan teachings. And it was that time. Anyway, he called it the harmonic convergence. And people from all over the world, were spiritual people, would go in groups. And it was supposed to be quite a significant time in the Mayan calendar. And I went to this place where we were all kind of camping out, and I got this real strong message to go out and go to the psychic fairs and do readings and stuff. And oh God, talking about these things. So there was this circuit that this guy was doing. He went from Vancouver, Calgary, and do Edmonton. Yeah, I think he did Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and then out to the prairies. And there was somebody else doing shows out east in Toronto and Montreal. And anyway, I remember going to Vancouver my first time. Didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing, really. I mean, I was kind of did readings for people, but it wasn't like professional or anything. And here there was people coming up to me and giving me money, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to tell them something. To be honest about this. So I don't know how I did it. I just managed to get through it, and I made money doing it. So,
well, I would say that you're just kind of sharing some of the wisdom you'd accumulated through all your seeking
probably,
and stuff, right?
yeah, probably, yeah. Anyway, I did that for 5 or 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got pretty worn out. Like my body physically got worn out, and I guess doing that the way I was doing it, it actually takes a lot of energy out of people, and there were long hours, and I wouldn't stop to eat or take breaks or anything like that. If there were people lined up, I would just do it. I'd stay there and keep doing it. And over a weekend, like there would be, I forget how many people a day. Like it was like I would see maybe there was 40 or 50 people, one right after the other, and 3 or 4 days in a row. That kind of takes its toll. And there were a lot of friends. Well, a lot. There were a few friends that actually got really sick physically doing this, and they died. It was about 4 or 5 of them that I know died around that time, and I was felt like I was getting there. I was pretty, chronic fatigue and everything, and so I quit doing it.
So where did that fit into your spiritual seeking? Or was it just become an occupation?
Yeah, it became an occupation, but it became really clear because, I could feel the pain and that the other people were having, and I really wanted to help them and fix things for them. And you can't. So I think that's what's at the heart of people getting sick, because they're trying to maybe give it back to me. I'm maybe trying to use my own energy to fix people or help them or change their reality or something, right? And it's not possible. And I, around that time, around the late 80s, I took a course in professional counseling. And I learned through that ways that I could help people help themselves, which was a lot more easier, maybe more effective. And yeah.
You kind of went through your own process in doing the studies, right?
Oh yeah, through the counseling. Yeah, I learned a lot more about myself. And
was that the first time you've ever been exposed to professional counseling?
Yes. Yeah, I had no idea, like, even what dysfunctional families meant. I didn't. Yeah, I think that was a theme throughout my life, right? I tried to make my mother happy and tried to help her and fix her. And when I was a little kid, and probably after the age of 5, I realized I was doing that because I didn't remember a lot of things before the age of 5. So, but yeah, I can remember times where my mother would be crying because my older brothers would be kind of mean to her and not listening and stuff. And she'd be crying like it was just hopeless. I had 5 brothers, and there was a lot for her to handle. And anyway, yeah.
So how did the counseling that you were learning, how did that align with the spiritual path that you were on?
Well, it was a tool. Like it was a better tool than tarot cards and palm reading, because I mean, maybe not better, but in tarot cards and palm reading, I mean, we're telling people, what they, their future and whatever, like what they should be doing. And in the counseling, I learned techniques to be able to help people get more in touch with their feelings and beliefs and things like that, and able to give them ways to help themselves with that, techniques and tools and that. And because I've always been very intuitive, that helped a lot in that process too. That was a good combination. And I can be there with people and not have to fix it for them, but show them ways to fix it themselves or help them do that. So, yeah.
And is this around the time you started going to enlightenment intensives? Because your friend kind of introduced you to them.
Yes, yes.
Around that time,
I had a
wasn't it?
friend that I actually did the counseling course with.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I thought there was a connection time-wise.
Yeah, time-wise, it was around that time, because I was 1990 when I got my certification as a professional counselor and set up my own private practice in that. And she was telling me about this enlightenment intensive that she'd gone to, and all these experiences that people were having. And being a therapist, it just sounded like therapy, right? And I've been doing my own private practice for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years by that time. And
which was the counseling practice.
Yeah, the counseling practice.
Okay, I thought you meant like a spiritual practice.
No, I did that on the side too, but I started realizing, like, oh my God, like before I went from being a psychic on the psychic fair circuit, me trying to use my energy to fix everybody, to getting them to use their own energy to try to help themselves. And then I went to this first enlightenment intensive, and I'm like, holy shit, it takes me 5 years. I don't think I was in practice 5 years at that time, but I remember this one fella that, it took, well, almost 5 years. Maybe it was after the intensive too, but to be able to write a letter to his father, just to be able to communicate some things to his dad. And thought, holy God, this thing, like in 3 days, I could get him to that place, like, so it was like the therapist in me was seeing this whole thing. I never even got it was about me having a spiritual experience on that first intensive, although I did. But I just was seeing it from the perspective of a therapist. So
you were seeing people having these experiences around you?
Yeah. Well, just the emotional releasing and everything that was happening. And I remember about the 3rd day, I went up to talk to, well, you've been talking about Murray Kennedy before, and he was the master of them intensives in the early days, and the first one I went to, and introduced me to it. And and I went up to him and I said, I think that I'm finally getting this, what we're doing here. And And he looks at me and he's all excited because he thinks I'm in this direct experience or something, And, I'm just telling them this common, ordinary thing. No, it's about, yeah, just that I just got that, oh, this is about people knowing themselves, like, like, and I did have a direct experience. I don't know if you want to talk about these kind of things, but
Well,
I knew who I was, but I didn't want to tell people it's just me, like it just sounded so stupid. So I would say, oh, I'm just Popeye the Sailor Man. I am. I'd be saying that, but
I am what I am.
yeah.
Well,
And I got it, right? I did get that, but I didn't. There was something I didn't connect with it. But.
Well, let's put a pause for a second here. You talk about direct experience. So just so people
Right.
can get a sense of what you were or weren't experiencing or whatever, give us your Cole's Notes version of in
The
the
direct experience.
in the enlightenment experience, in the enlightenment intensive world. What's considered a direct experience?
Oh, forget all my lectures now.
Okay, well, that's good.
No, I know. I'm just. It's.
This is why people are going to these things. Right?
I know that there's no thinking about it or.
About what?
About a direct experience, right? You're in total union with it. You're in total union with yourself. If that's what you're inquiring into.
Right. Well, let's just stick with that one.
Okay.
So the intention is to have a direct experience of yourself.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And a direct experience is, or you only know it when you have it, or what?
How to explain it, Shawn? I should be able to explain this. That's my problem here right now, because I'm an enlightenment intensive master and I've given lots of lectures on it, but it's like there's no separation. But even when I say those words, like it's hard to grasp that.
Right.
It's like, maybe that's the way you could say it in that there's a total knowing of it. Like if someone's maybe trying to give you instructions or something and you just don't, you can say, yes, okay, I understand, I get it. But you don't really get it until you do it. And it's not about the doing of it either. Oh, that's not gonna, people
so just to go back then to you were expressing like I'm me, right?
Yes.
So you were in direct contact, would you say?
Well, it's more than being in contact, like
yeah, I know.
Yeah, like the words are just pointers. I mean, all the spiritual teachers talk about that. The words are just pointers. Like your finger pointing at the moon. It's not about your finger. It's about the moon. And anyway, I just kind of drawn a blank on the whole thing. It's funny. And
that's fine. So
So
tell.
I know what I can say. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a really good way to kind of explain it is like Hale, another spiritual teacher. We can talk about him too, but he would get people to ask each other, "Are you?" And people would just laugh and whatever, yeah, and keep doing it. But there's a way that is perceived where there's absolutely no doubt, right? Because try not being you. I mean, that's another way of saying it. Like, try not being you. Like it's one thing that I guess some people could be so lost that they could say that I'm not really me. But some part of them's got to know that that's not the truth, right? Then who are you? Like I would ask participants, right? Are you that person? And they would say no. I said, well, are you that person? No.
Yeah.
Like, and then we identify with being the body. And that's not who we are either. Like, it's just an identification with the body because this has been around for a long time. But a baby does not identify with being the body. They're just there. I mean, if you ask a little kid too, tell me who you are, they think you're nuts.
Isn't it obvious?
Yes, well, it is. That's another clue about it. Is it so obvious? People will say that afterwards. Oh my God, this has been here all my life. It's so obvious. How could I have missed it? And it's not a trick question. I tell people that on intensive, like we think it's a trick question. I thought it was a trick question. It can't be this just obvious me, like I mean, it goes beyond that, but that first gate. So yeah, if we get into talking about intensives, then right after that first intensive, I was so amazed and everything by it. Like I was still thinking about it as a therapist, though, for other people. I wasn't really thinking about it as me. I had so many, I'd say that on the intent. I had so many experiences in my life, spiritual experiences, that, I didn't want to feel greedy. I think I was given enough. It's okay. You don't have to give me more, like, or whatever. And yeah, I just wanted to find a way. I think that was with me, like I said before, all my life, to just help people see that truth. Like, because most of us go around blind, deaf and blind, and that we can't see that. We have all these beliefs about what we are, and a key one is I'm not good enough. Right? That's a huge one, and it's so insidious, and in so many areas of our life, like all these little shadow crevices in our psyche are full of that in some form or another. So I want to say another powerful thing for myself in my own self-awareness, was doing EFT, emotional freedom technique.
Tapping.
And I can't remember exactly where I got into that, but along the way, like it was like early 90s or something too. It was around that time. But anyway.
Well, you're studying Callahan, right?
Yeah. Roger Callahan, when he came up and did the Okanagan and did a workshop.
It wasn't EFT then, no, right?
No, it was what is it? Something else it was called. People hardly remember Roger Callahan at all anymore. Then Gary Craig took his course and spent about $10,000 or whatever, and made up his own. He shortened the whole algorithm thing, but I just want to say about the EFT, because I used to work on that a lot, hey, like, because I had a lot of issues around not being good enough. And I just started realizing that I used to call them these stupid fears. Why would I have these fears? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just really stupid. And so I started tapping around all that for myself, and I would tap and tap and tap. Like, that became my practice. And so what I did, I hope this is really helpful for people, because it was so amazingly helpful for me. And I said, well, okay, if I'm not good enough, then who is? So I made a list of people that I thought were good enough. And then I said, okay, what do they have that I don't have then? And I would write down all these things, like whatever it was, they're confident, or, they
came up with this on your own?
Yeah. I just figured that out. Like, yeah, it was, anyway, it's such a valuable thing to do. Like, it's amazing. So then I would tap around all those things that I thought I wasn't good enough around. And I did that for months and months. And it wasn't until one day I went to this group meeting or something like that. And before that, I always felt kind of self-conscious and, afraid or whatever. And I started noticing, like, Jesus, I don't have any of them feelings anymore. I have nothing here. And there's no fear, I could just be myself and say whatever I want to say or whatever. Like, it was amazing. It was a huge, huge shift for me. Between that and the Enlightenment intensives, and on the Enlightenment intensives, what for myself I got personally, other than finding a therapeutic tool to help other people, I found in the Enlightenment intensives, the process is that we sit across from each other, and we give each other, or one at a time. One will be the listening partner, and the other be the communicating partner. And the listening partner gives the instruction to the communicator, tell me who you are. And the communicator takes 5 minutes to contemplate this, and in that time, communicate what comes up as a result of their contemplation and their intention to experience themselves directly. So you have this whole 5 minutes. Like, that was amazing for me. Like, oh my God, I got 5 minutes and I could say anything I want, or do anything I want. If I don't want to communicate, I don't, or, like, it was so precious. But I started finally learning how to communicate better and be okay with that, whether the person liked what I was saying or not. Like, it's such a valuable opportunity to learn to do that. Because I was going to say maybe half the people out there, probably 75% of the people are like that. They don't have somebody that's going to listen to them for 5 minutes. And it's not just the one round, you get to do that for 40 minutes after your partner has a turn to do the thing. After 5 minutes, you switch over and your partner is giving them instructions and they have 5 minutes and then you go back to you. So yeah, like, and then you do that with another partner right afterwards. So you just have this long time to start, just noticing what's there and communicating that to another person. And like, it's so valuable. I sometimes think that's more valuable than having the direct experience itself, but because that's something that people can take into their lives. I mean, in direct experience they can too, but sometimes that fades, and you have that high, and then it can fade. But that communication process, that can stay with you. Like, it's better than going to a therapist. So between that and, there's been other valuable things that I finally started making a lot of these self-development things about fixing me before to go out fixing other people, right? And so there was that, and the work of Byron Katie was so amazingly helpful. That process of, just, again, it's a process of self-inquiry, and in a sense that you're questioning what you're experiencing. Like, what's here right now? And is it real? Them thoughts that you have about other people, are they really real? Are you absolutely sure they're real? And, if you still think that, what if you turned it around? Like, well, I hate that person or whatever. Like, I hate myself. Does that sound more real? Sometimes it does. Or I don't hate that person. So, you learn to explore that, our thoughts, and, how they're shaping our reality. And then the Sedona method is another powerful experience that has helped me so much. Again, that's a process of self-inquiry, of just welcoming what's there. And welcoming, the most important thing about that is welcoming our resistance to it. And so, yeah, I mean, well, we've explored Sedona method a lot and gone to a lot of retreats, and they've been amazing. And like, a simple thing, like, it's so simple and effective. Like, that's something that I've been searching for my whole life, like these tools and techniques like that, because life is just happening all the time. And, like I said, you can go to Enlightenment Intensive and have a powerful experience in everything, but then, life's still there. You go home and, your husband or whatever's cranky and, didn't have such a good time as you, and or you can't pay your bills, or you're sick, or so the process of self-inquiry and inquiring into our thoughts, that's like, and our thoughts and our feelings, like that, it starts to come to the realization that that's all that's there. Really, these sensations. pictures and sounds. That's all it's really here. When we start going deeply into that, any of them processes, actually, you will arrive there and start seeing the reality of what's here. And it's like I've come to a place where I don't, it's okay if I don't have those profound experiences anymore, those highs and blissful experiences. Like, because once you start questioning your thoughts and your feelings and, how real are they, you start seeing what's beyond that, the beauty and the heaven that is already here. So that's where I kind of come around to that. I mean, there was probably other teachers and things, Amma and Muji, but really that's where it comes to me now, is if you can just, make that your practice, is just, they call it being present, be in the now, but it's more than just being in the now. Try, because you're trying to be in the now, then you're making it something else. And what's obviously there all the time is these thoughts and feelings, these sensations, pictures, and sounds that are either we're either grasping after or we're resisting. The reality that's here all the time. And when we can learn to surrender to all of that, or just, the welcoming of that, like they just kind of go like that. I mean, even physical pain can do that. Anyway, I've been doing a lot of talking, and do you have any questions?
No, it sounds like a good summary. So it seems like the path was really shedding stuff, shedding ideas and
Yes.
beliefs.
Shedding everything. Shedding the body. Not that I don't value my body now. I mean, very precious, and valuing everything more, actually. My environment, and yeah, I'm a lot happier. And there's another really good one I'd like to share with you and others, that I like these little things that work, that are effective. They appear to be effective anyway. But I've always had insecurities about doing some things, like some manual type things, like construction kind of things, and where I never did them before, and I haven't had a lot of experience. But one of the things that has helped me a lot is this question: how can I do this easily and effortlessly? And it's amazing how that works. Like, yeah, it's just start doing it then somehow. And most of the time it works. Anyway, it's very powerful.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. I think we'll.
You've probably been here an hour.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna stop the recording.
Okay.